back for another video in this lovely evening or night. And hope you're all having a wonderful time wherever you're doing, whatever you're doing. Um, I've come to talk to you about the last Bitcoin. What do I mean by that? Well, a few things. Number 21 million, for starters, will be mined in roughly the year 2140 or so, it's estimated, which is about another 116 years from now. And along the way, there's only about 5.5% of all the Bitcoin max supply left to be mined, which is less than the amount that has been lost by far. And what that means is effectively we're already at the point of the last Bitcoin, in a sense, because all of the Bitcoin that's being mined now can never make up for all the Bitcoin that's been lost effectively or has become inaccessible because of lost keys, etc., or they were sent to the wrong address, things like that. By the wrong address, I mean they were sent to real addresses that are not accessible, so they become inaccessible. What is the consequence of that? Well, for starters, one thing that it means is that all the Bitcoin that's left is just really making up for a fraction of the amount that's gone. So the circulating supply that exists compared to the amount that's already been mined means that we will never even attain the amount that has been mined, even if you add all the amount that is yet to be mined. So effectively, Bitcoin is operating at a kind of a deficit. Now you can say, well, all that's really done is increase the value of the remaining Bitcoin. And in a way that's true, because it means although there's a max supply of 21 million, there's really only a max supply of around 16 or 17 million. And we've already mined more than that, but we've lost somewhere between 3 and 5 million of them. 1.1 million of them being Satoshis. They are essentially inaccessible as far as anyone knows, unless somebody secretly has the keys to them. If Satoshi gave them to someone who just hasn't touched them for some reason, or if Satoshi is still able to access them, just hasn't. We don't know, and we won't know that for a long time. And the truth is, we may never know. But we do know that they've not, and that means they're effectively accessible, as far as we know. But even if you discount 1 million of Satoshis lost, or unmoved Bitcoins, there's still an additional 3 to 4 million Bitcoins that have never been able to be accessed again, which is a staggeringly huge amount if you think about it. And what it means is that all of the Bitcoin that will ever be mined the last Bitcoin, because there will never be able to be 21 in circulation. And as I've mentioned many times, since the whales and other large wallet holders already own more than 91% of the max supply, and only 3% are in the hands of retail, meaning small wallet holders, and the other 5.5% have yet to be mined. It basically means that the whales have all of it, and the rest of the world wrap over the 3.5%. So when you hear people say, well, you can work towards getting Bitcoin, it's true, you can still work toward getting a Bitcoin if you have the means, and either buy it outright if you have as much means to do that, or try to DCA, or try to trade and get yourself a Bitcoin, or possibly more. But the average person will never have anything close to a Bitcoin, obviously. I mean, obviously, that was always the case, even if it was equally distributed around the world. If it was evenly distributed, the average person would have something like 0.001 Bitcoin or something like that. Or 0.02, whatever it was, a very small amount. So, the last Bitcoin. If you don't have your 0.02, I would say that now is the time. To go for that, because the odds of getting any when the price goes bonkers is going to be significantly harder in the coming months and years. So that's what I have to say about that. And it's kind of going to do it for now. Nope. Hang on 1 second. I'll be right with you. Just doing a little thing here in the real world where I'm touching some grass or commercial products. Thanks. Yeah. Touching some plastic, as it were. So keep that in mind when you think about what is the possibility of acquiring more than a Bitcoin. And keep in mind how scarce the asset is compared to other assets people buy and sell on the market. Which is why I remain a big proponent of acquiring other forms of crypto. And I'm a big proponent of Litecoin, among a few others. Certainly Litecoin is right up there on my list of favorites. Because with Litecoin, you can actually make a significant stack. And given how absolutely undervalued it is, in my opinion, given that it's the same technology as Bitcoin, same qualities, same features, same everything. The only difference is there's 4 times as many coins in Litecoin as there are on Bitcoin in the max supply. And therefore, the mining speed is 4 times as fast. And it turns out the transaction speed is 4 times as fast as Bitcoin. And all of the code that goes onto Bitcoin is first tested on Litecoin in terms of the key core development updates. It is one of the many reasons that I consider Litecoin to be the coin that a lot of people are going to turn to when they want to acquire something that has basically identical traits to Bitcoin with just a little bit less rarity and is not yet dominated by whales compared to retail holders. Right? It is not yet in the hands of the huge wallet holders. But if you think that will last, well, it won't. Once more people understand the scarcity of Litecoin after the massive FOMO panic of the scarcity of Bitcoin kicks in, which is already happening, it is going to be a very obvious thing to want to acquire as much Litecoin as possible. And we're already seeing that by various large purchases of Litecoin by whales. How long will it be until Litecoin in the hands of large wallet holders? Well, maybe within the next 4 years, it will already be similar to Bitcoin in the amount of ownership of Litecoin by whales and big holders. Because it doesn't take long for people to comprehend that concept. Most people who have a brain cell between their ears understand that it is extremely scarce and that it is going to be ever more scarce. And when they realize that already Bitcoin is out of reach and that most Bitcoin is probably never going to be on traded exchanges, it's just going to sit in cold wallets of massive whales who never intend to sell any, except when they occasionally want to take some profits and then buy back when it dips again. Litecoin is going to be a kind of no-brainer choice as an alternative. Now, does that mean that people won't buy Solana or Ethereum or Binance Coin or Polkadot or anything else, or XRP? No, of course they'll buy those things. But whales are also buying up all the ETH. And they will just as likely, they will buy up a lot of the XRP. And they will buy up a lot of the BNB. And they will buy up practically every coin that they can because they have the means to do so, to keep the little person out and to make it basically impossible for the average person to stack a significant fortune. Right, this is the largest land grab gold rush that we've seen in hundreds of years, because it's not every century that we see a new asset class. It normally takes a number of centuries before we see a new asset class. And crypto is that new asset class. And crypto is not particularly large. A couple $1 trillion or less is really not a lot of money in the big wide world of people who have many billions of dollars at their disposal, and companies who have hundreds of billions or trillions at their disposal. There are companies who could literally buy, easily a quarter of all the Bitcoin, not just Bitcoin, a quarter of all the cryptocurrencies. And there are many such companies. You don't need more than a tiny handful. And if just 4 or 5 companies wanted to do it, they could easily do that without breaking their bank, without really affecting their bottom line. And they would own the entire market. And they would do that because that would prevent the average user from getting the advantage against the entrenched systems, which means ultimately Bitcoin and crypto could be squashed out of existence in terms of practical usage, or it will just be the fact that the very largest companies own absolutely everything, percentage wise, in terms of the available capital of crypto, and the average person will have literally scraps. And that's kind of what these big companies want. And I don't say it to be negative. I don't say it to make you feel like you have no hope in this future. I say it to give you a fair warning that this is happening, and the best way to avoid being left in the dust is to stack while it's still relatively cheap. And by relatively cheap, I mean for an asset class that people expect to see go up an additional 100x, or maybe even 1,000x or more. It's entirely possible that we may be witnessing not just the last Bitcoin or the last potential great gains to be made by individuals in Bitcoin, but we're also witnessing the end of the possibility of stacking any kind of crypto, because those who have want to keep those who don't have out of their club forever. FOMC Fed rate cut now. Yeah, okay. That's good. Don't get suckered into the news, bro. You know that. It's the VEPS that moves the market, not the news. So, will we see Bitcoin and altcoins in the market in general shoot up because of the news? Highly unlikely. Will we see the VEPS indicate to us what the likely direction is? That is far more likely. So I was saying it is possible to stack if you know how to trade and build yourself a portfolio that is future proofed so that you're not left out of the future of finance. So, see you all later. Happy trading and happy stacking. Peace.